the Western Cape is rather experiencing a spate of kidnappings. Between April and June, 187 people were kidnapped in the city of Cape Town alone. And criminals are targeting business people and demanding ransom for the release of the victims. Well, the increase in kidnappings led to the establishment of the SAPS Anti-Kidnapping Task Team. And our eNCA senior reporter Ayesha Ismail is tracking that story for us and joins me now to give us an update. And good morning to you, Ayesha. I mean, quite concerning that even though, kidnapping is a South African phenomenon where we're seeing in all parts of the country the increased number of people falling victim of kidnapping, it seems Cape Town is not spared. Take us through what the number and the reality is looking like in the city alone.
Well, it's very difficult to put an exact figure to the kidnapping cases because a lot of people do not report kidnappings to the South African Police Service for a variety of reasons. One, because they don't have confidence in the police, but also because they prefer to try and sort it out amongst themselves. Because very often when people are kidnapped, the perpetrators will tell the family of the victims not to contact the police, because if they do so, they will not see their loved ones ever again. So it is very difficult to put an exact figure to this. What we do know, and as you alluded to in your introduction, that a kidnapping task team had been set up in October last year, and according to SAPS here in the Western Cape, they are making progress. They've arrested a number of people, including 3 senior police officers, and in fact, tomorrow we're seeing a case that we reported on extensively. It was the case of the primary school girl, Abira Dekta, that was kidnapped last year, and her alleged kidnappers will be back in court tomorrow and they'll be bringing a bail application. But I'm now joined by Hermann Bossman, who is an expert on kidnapping cases, and he's been dealing with a number of cases not only in the Western Cape but across South Africa. Hermann, would you say that kidnapping cases, and particularly kidnapping for ransom, is still a huge issue in South Africa?
Well, good day to you, Ayesha, and the viewers. Yes, certainly it is still a big issue. There's been breakthroughs across the country in various provinces where people have been arrested by the task teams that's been established, and we must compliment and give credit to that. But the problem is certainly not being resolved. The root causes are still there. We still see fluctuations where one quarter you will see a decrease and the next quarter there will be an increase again. As we have seen the previous quarter statistics being released compared to the previous year quarter, over 300 cases more being reported. So there's definitely good successes being reported as far as arrests. We must now have convictions. That is the other part that we're very interested in, and that is how well has this been investigated, how well has the case has been formulated to have convictions on those cases that's currently pending court.
Are a lot of these cases that you've come across, are they kind of cross-border kidnappings that you've been dealing with?
No, we've certainly seen many cross-border cases. International involvement cannot be ignored. It is a big problem, international problem. But we've seen a lot of copycat cases as well, where there's been a lot of localized kidnappings, where a lot of local groupings has formed. And unfortunately, we have people from all spectrums of life, the police service even also involved in some of these cases. So everybody currently, we have seen, entered into that market, and it has been seemed to be very lucrative.
Hermann, you're involved in negotiations, and you also often advise people how not to become a victim. What would your advice be to South Africans?
Well, to South Africans is, number one, know and understand the problem. Have situational awareness as part of your daily life. Keep your private information and personal information close at heart. Be careful when you use the internet and what you broadcast about yourself. Go and Google yourself. See what you can see about yourself. And that anybody can see. Also, when you move around, be aware of where you park your vehicle, who is following you, and just your daily life. With who do you mix in your daily life? With who do you do business? And this is definitely also a concern that I've seen a shift where the construction area has become very active in extortion and kidnapping related cases. And that's also something we need to focus on.
That's interesting, because in the stories that I've covered and followed, you would find that these kidnappings aren't just impulsive. the perpetrators have actually studied the victims. They want to know who these people are that they're going to be kidnapping, and so they know a lot of these people so that they can get that ransom.
Absolutely. I mean, this is a professional act, a professional crime. A lot of research and planning goes into that. It's not just something that happens on a particular day in the spur of the moment. So doing all the planning and the research and targeting your victim is very important for the group. So when they do this, it is well rehearsed, well structured, and that is why we on the other side that's trying to prevent it and working with government organizations must do the same. We must network, we must plan, and we must start to do things differently. You can't do the same thing over and over and expect a different outcome. And that is where we must take hands and see how can we work differently. What is there that we're not doing? And there's a lot we can do different, which obviously for reasons we wouldn't want to put out there. But there's a lot of things that I feel if we get around the table, we plan and structure this well, we can change this. But we need to do it sooner than later.
Thank you so much for your time. And that was Hermann Bossman, who is an expert when it comes to advising people on analyzing kidnapping cases.
Ayesha, that, kidnappers are quite attentive when it comes to your lifestyle, where you go, what you do, what information is at their disposal. So it takes time and a level of, discipline in terms of studying their victims, hence the warning and caution there to be extra careful. eNCA senior reporter Ayesha Ismail on our focus around kidnappings. And you could hear from the expert the warning there to be aware of who you surround yourself with, who you conduct business with, your surroundings, and not share too much personal information, as you don't know who is following you and following through with your personal information.